My name is Evelyn Mercer, and until 6 months ago I thought I had the perfect life. A successful husband, a beautiful home, and a daughter about to graduate law school. But perfection, I've learned, is often just a well-decorated lie. It was during my daughter's graduation dinner that the illusion finally shattered. Charles, my husband of 25 years, stood to give a toast. At least that's what everyone thought. Instead, he smiled that charming politician's smile and said the words that changed everything. "Evelyn, I think it's time we go our separate ways. I've met someone." The air in the restaurant turned to glass. 50 faces turned toward me, waiting for the tears, the scene, the humiliation. Instead, I simply raised my glass. "Then congratulations, Charles. I wish you honesty in your new life." Silence. Utter silence. Only my daughter, Lydia, looked at me with wide, trembling eyes. I smiled at her, the same calm smile I'd practiced for years to hide pain, and then placed a small cream envelope beside my husband's plate. "A little something for you," I said. "You can read it later." Then I stood, smoothed my navy dress, and left the table, leaving 50 stunned guests in my wake. Outside, the Charleston evening air felt heavier than I remembered, but I breathed freely for the first time in years. Behind me, the restaurant doors burst open. "Evelyn, what the hell is this?" Charles's voice, sharp, panicked, no longer confident. I didn't look back. The envelope contained the beginning of his reckoning. Divorce papers. Evidence. And the final page, a copy of the fidelity clause from our prenuptial agreement. I had discovered his affair months earlier. Not through lipstick stains or late-night calls, but through balance sheets. I'm a financial consultant. Numbers don't lie even when people do. It started with small transfers, unaccounted withdrawals from our joint investment account. Charles had been moving funds to a private account under his new business venture. That venture was Isabel, his 29-year-old assistant. A woman who'd sat in our home, smiled across my dinner table, and called me Mrs. Mercer with saccharine sweetness. I didn't confront him. I observed. I gathered. I built a quiet fortress of proof. Emails. Transactions. A lease on a luxury condo in both their names. And then the final touch. A recording of Charles telling a friend, "Evelyn's too loyal to ever leave. I'll walk away clean." He was wrong. I returned home that night to our Georgian-style house overlooking the river. Everything looked unchanged. Family portraits, antique clocks, the roses I'd planted last spring. But I had already packed my essentials. 3 weeks prior, I had retained an attorney and opened a private account in my name only. Every asset Charles had tried to move, I'd already traced and documented. Every cent he hid would be frozen before sunrise. When he finally came home hours later, his face was a storm. He slammed the door, holding the opened envelope. "Divorce papers? You couldn't even talk to me first. You wanted honesty," I said. "Consider this my version." He tried to bluff, muttering something about expired prenups. I let him finish before I smiled, politely, like a hostess ending a party. "Section 9, paragraph 2, I recited. The fidelity clause remains active for the duration of the marriage. You signed it, Charles." For once he was silent. Over the next week, the consequences unfolded like clockwork. His business accounts, frozen. His luxury condo, repossessed. His affair, public, courtesy of his own financial emails leaked through court filings. Lydia, my daughter, was furious, not at me but at him. She told him she wanted space, which in our family meant a lifetime. I moved in temporarily with my sister Caroline, who welcomed me with wine and wicked humor. "You've handled this like a queen," she said. "Not a queen," I replied. "Just a woman who finally remembered her worth." 3 months later, our preliminary hearing was held. Charles looked smaller somehow, his once proud posture reduced to slouching guilt. His attorney argued for leniency, claiming emotional decisions and a lapse in judgment. The judge, a woman in her 60s with sharp glasses and sharper instincts, wasn't swayed. She read the prenuptial agreement aloud, then declared, "Given the violation of marital fidelity and attempted concealment of assets, the court grants Mrs. Mercer full ownership of the marital residence, majority shares of joint investments, and maintenance of her retirement portfolio." Charles blinked as if struck. The very contract he once demanded to protect his interests had become his downfall. When we exited the courtroom, he stopped me in the hallway. "Evelyn, I made a mistake." "Yes," I said softly. "You underestimated me." 6 months later, I stood in the sunlight of my new office. Mercer Financial Renewal, a consultancy for women rebuilding their independence. My first clients were 2 young women, both recently divorced, both terrified about their futures. By the end of our session, they were smiling. I realized then that revenge had given me justice, but reinvention had given me purpose. Lydia often visited, bringing flowers and new clients from her law firm. "You turned his betrayal into a business model," she joked one afternoon. "No," I corrected gently. "I turned my silence into strength." I sometimes think back to that night at the restaurant. The champagne. The whispers. The envelope. Everyone thought I was walking away broken. In truth, I was walking toward myself. And I've never looked back.